Christoph, firstly, wanted to ask how are you and how has life been for the past year back in Germany?
Well, obviously, the success last season helped us a lot because the better you perform on the pitch, the easier life gets off the pitch as well. And to be entirely honest, the first couple of weeks have been challenging. You just know what you've left behind, and that was a very good life that me and my family had in Norwich. And you don't quite know what you're coming into, even though it's Germany, and even though that's my home country. I've never lived in the area before. I'm not from here, my wife's not from here, so we didn't quite know what to expect. But we've been very lucky because the club's been amazing to me. My teammates have been great, and that helped me to settle in. And obviously, then when my family joined me here as well, we were lucky to find a nice house to live in a nice surrounding, and we quickly managed to settle in and to make this feel like home as well.
We'll touch on the success you had on the field a little bit later on, but that aspect you talked about there of having family in Germany that could make the visit a little bit easier than when you were in Norwich, was that a big element in you moving back here?
That did not play a role at all. The reason for me to move back and to find a club in Germany was just to get some game time. And I wasn't even saying it has to be Germany. I was just looking for a club that would allow me to play games again. Luckily, Darmstadt said that they wanted to sort of take the risk, given my injury history in the past couple of years. It's then been a nice coincidence to say so that also geographically this worked out very well, because it's about 2.5 hours from my side of the family, just under 2 hours for my wife's side of the family. So that's a bonus, but that was not the reason why.
You just kind of landed on your feet in the sense that you did have that closeness of family and then the success on the pitch this year, getting promoted back to the Bundesliga. What was the feeling throughout Darmstadt? How big was it for the city and the club to get back up?
To be fair, I mean, we've been in the direct promotion ranks for, I think, just over 25 game days or so. So we've been in those top two positions for a very long time. But it was always kind of surreal to think you could actually win the league or actually win promotion, to say. You could tell towards the end that there was a certain excitement and probably also nervousness about the city, and that you could feel out the lads could actually do it. And then once we won the second last game of the season against Magdeburg, and we know with that win we've sealed promotion. Yeah, there was no stopping the party, to say so. I mean, it was a night game that was worked very well in our favor. And after the game, celebrations, I think pitch invasion, celebrations at the grounds. And then we've driven with our team coach into the city centre, where we were welcomed by a couple of thousands of supporters just around midnight. And they've given us a very good celebration, yeah.
It obviously wasn't your first experience of those promotion celebrations. You have those two title wins with Norwich. Can you give us a bit of insight into what it was like being part of the club for those few years?
I think 5 years in football is a very long time, certainly nowadays. And the connection that I felt I had built with the club, with the city, even with the whole county, was just immense. I've enjoyed every day that I've had at Norwich. If the football would have worked, I could have also seen myself playing there for more years or even retiring at Norwich. But as a footballer, there's an expiration day that sometimes comes earlier than we wish it would. And I just didn't want to run the risk of not playing for too many seasons and then, yeah, not really having a future in the game anymore. And that was, yeah, and then the reason for me to say goodbye.
Your departure seemed quite sudden. There was the preseason friendly against Marseille last summer, and then it was almost immediate after that you left. How was that process for you?
Well, yeah, it's gone fairly quick. I think from the first contact or the interest of Darmstadt to me actually leaving Norwich and signing for Darmstadt was about 10 days, just under 2 weeks. And that, I mean, I had, during the summer break, I had thoughts in my head where I was thinking the chances of me playing will be fairly limited. So there's a good chance I need to move on just to get some game time. But then when it actually comes to other clubs being interested, talking to you, and there's agents talking, and you feel like, oh, this could get serious, and there's actual chance I may leave Norwich. That's when things sort of start to get real and when you notice how hard it will be to leave. But it probably helped that it was just those 10 days from first contact to then actually saying goodbye, because the longer it takes, the harder it is to leave, I think. And then it also helped that I arrived in Darmstadt on the Tuesday and played on Friday. So it all went very quickly. And as a footballer, it always helps to just switch your mind off, get on the pitch and play. Yeah, extreme times in that sense that normally everything I do is planned for a long time. And this one was a bit spur of the moment.
How difficult were the goodbyes at Norwich?
That was, I think I've done the farewell video just about a year ago now. And I've watched it a couple of times and I could tell, yeah, I was that close to crying, but I sort of just about managed to keep it together. And the hardest part was actually to say goodbye to the team after that Marseille trip that you just mentioned, because we played there on Saturday nights, and after the game I got a WhatsApp saying the deal's done, you will leave Norwich and go to Darmstadt. And when that sunk in, and then you have the whole night there and you go, in your mind you're going through what you're going to say to the group. And I remember sharing the room with Tim Krul, and I was going to this 2-minute speech I wanted to hold in front of the group, explaining what was happening. And every time I went through those 2 minutes, I started crying. And then eventually Tim asked me what was going on, and I told him that this was my last game for Norwich, and just mentioning those couple of words really got me emotional again. And then it's taken me basically all night to get a good speech together and to try to get my emotions together. And I'm not gonna lie, I was quite afraid of that moment the next morning, to stand in front of the group, in front of stewards, the coaching staff, of everyone, and to tell them that I was leaving. But it was very important for me not to just disappear, but to tell the lads that I was going and why I was going, and to more importantly than anything, to tell them how grateful I've been for the time I've had.
I think when you see how you interacted with players and supporters during or before and after at least the friendly on Wednesday night, you could see that that love that you have for Norwich was reciprocated by everyone else. Was it nice for you to get to relive that a little bit this week?
Well, it was the best feeling. Just I'm not a huge fan of playing against my former teams, because you wear those badge for a couple of years and then all of a sudden playing against them is strange. So I didn't actually look forward to playing against Norwich, but I was looking forward to meeting my former teammates, to meeting the staff, to meet everyone that I've spent so many years and so much time with. And then also getting the reception from the supporters that had traveled out has been amazing, because it gives you the feeling that the feeling you have for the club is mutual. And I know this is not going to stay like this forever, because we're in football and it's a fast living business. But I hope that my name will always be remembered in a positive way, because that's how I will always remember Norwich City. A couple of really good memories throughout all those years, and those definitely like the promotion seasons. And then another nice piece that the club had given to me for my 100th appearance for Norwich City. Of a couple of, I think that's my 100th game against Spurs, if I'm not mistaken, including like Championship, League Cup, FA Cup, and then Premier League games. Yeah, with obviously many images from the first season. I think that may have even been my first game at Fulham, because I feel in the background that could be one of the sides of Craven Cottage. And then, coming back to the 18-19 season, again, the trophy at Villa Park on the last game day, and that was my celebration after the header against Reading. And I'm just happy for not the awards themselves, that you've won something, but just for having those memories, and also very much obviously for that nice piece of appreciation, and for the congratulations from the football club for my 100th appearance, because it's something I'm very proud of, having had 100, or I think at the end just around 130 caps for such a great football club.
You spoke about how the connection you had with the club extended to the city and the county. You did a lot of work for the Community Sports Foundation when you were at the club. Is building that connection and using your influence as a professional footballer in the biggest club in the county, is that something that you view as very important?
Definitely was, because that model that a club has a charity partner was something that I wasn't aware of, because that just doesn't exist in Germany. I always feel as a footballer we're privileged, and we're in such a privileged position that it makes a difference to supporters of the football club. If you're just around, if you just shake some hands and take some pictures together or sign a shirt, and it's something that takes a couple of seconds for us, but it's something that can make someone else's day. And therefore I was just glad to have that opportunity to spread some joy to some people and to help them sometimes in times of crisis as well. And I've met such great people of the foundation, obviously led by Ian Thornton and Jackie, and then I'm still in touch with Darren Hunter a lot, so he keeps me posted on how his disability teams are doing, and it's great to see that they are doing really well. It's a pleasure to see how those guys are working with some players, some children, some people who are just a bit less fortunate in terms of their health and they need a little support, and that this support is provided by the CSF.
You mentioned there how you're still in touch with the foundation. We spoke a little bit earlier on off camera about how you've been following the team from afar. Has it been a little bit difficult for the past year watching on from outside of the dressing room?
It has been, yeah. I mean, I think the start of the season, or the first 15, 20 games were, in terms of results, were good, even though the performance has probably not been perfect, but the results were right, and I think Norwich had been on top of the table for a couple of game days. So obviously you're hoping that the lads will be able to do it and to win promotion again, but then before Christmas it went downhill, unfortunately. A change of manager, and then the second half of the season started a bit more promising than it ended, unfortunately. So I think it's been fair to say that the season was a bit disappointing. And I obviously would have loved to see Norwich do a bit better and be more successful, because whenever there's a game that I was able to watch live here, I did. And if I couldn't, then at least I watched the highlights. So this connection will carry on through the next couple of years, and I will always hope and wish for Norwich to do very well.
You have some experience of the head coach David Wagner from your time with Borussia Dortmund. What was your time with him like for that year?
Yeah, we just had about just over a year. We've been in the third tier in Germany back then. In the second season, I think after 10, 15 game days, he got the opportunity to join Huddersfield, and then left Dortmund to go on and manage Huddersfield, and I think he's done pretty well with them, getting them promoted and keeping them in the Premier League for one season. And then I think he left after a total of 3.5 years, so just under that. I'm just grateful, because he was the coach who got me into Dortmund, and Dortmund was where my career really kicked off. I think him and his assistant Christoph I'm still quite close with them, in touch every now and then. And obviously Dave got connections or relations to Darmstadt as well, so it was funny at the first half of the season after a game to see him in the crowds and to see it and talk to him after the game. So it's funny how small the world football is sometimes. Having first of all Daniel Farke at Dortmund, and then obviously with me at Norwich, and then having Dave sort of in a different order, but also Dortmund, and then later on at Norwich, plus the connection with him in Darmstadt. It's funny how those connections sometimes just seem to happen.
As a player then, how did you find working under him and the style of football?
It's a very intense style of football. I think he's quite close to Jurgen Klopp, and everyone knows what Klopp's football is looking like. And Dave's is not less intense, I would say. I remember his pre-season, I remember his training sessions. That was always hard work, and I think that's also what he wants from his players, working hard and showing good energy and positivity on the pitch. And I think the lads will have a fairly tough pre-season right now. They'll be having a tough time, loads of sessions, heavy legs going into the friendlies, but I'm sure it will work off, because I've learned in my years now that hard work always pays off. You don't need to be the most gifted, but if you're working well, if you've got a plan, if you follow that plan, it can be very successful. And Dave has proven that on many occasions. And fingers crossed he'll do that at Norwich as well.
Having seen that at first hand earlier this week, do you think those steps in the right direction are being made for this season?
It's always hard to draw conclusions from a pre-season friendly because you never quite know what's been the focus in training, what's the status of the lads at the moment, how far they're in pre-season, when did the internationals come back. There's so many aspects to take into considerations, and therefore you just can't, or you shouldn't overjudge pre-season friendly. Obviously what I've heard was that they've been working on their shape out of possession for the last couple of days, and well, that seemed to be working pretty well because we struggled to create chances. Norwich looked very, very solid against the ball. That's what they've been working on and what they wanted to bring into action on Wednesday against us. Then I have to say that worked very well because we struggled to find solutions to break their lines and to get in the heart of their game. And yeah, they made it really hard for us and obviously also didn't concede.
You had the chance to visit Carrow Road just before Christmas last year. Was that special for you to come back?
It was a very, very happy and a very proud moment for me. First of all, it was Stuart's idea to invite me over for a game, to have also the opportunity to say goodbye to the supporters and also to Delia and Michael, because I wasn't able to say goodbye to them after the Marseille game, and I just wanted to sort of leave in the right manner. And having Stuart show me this opportunity and give me this opportunity was very, very good for me, and I'm very grateful for having had that opportunity. And just going off the reception I got from the supporters at halftime, that was yeah, belongs definitely to my top 3, top 5 Norwich moments, even though I haven't been a Norwich player anymore at that time.
Moving on to the now, how do you feel preparations are going for the new season for you and for Darmstadt? Big step up to the Bundesliga. Is there an excitement or a nervousness there?
Excitement for sure, and I think the nervousness will also come the closer we get to the start of the season. I think if it wasn't there, I'd be concerned because it's the first time playing in the Bundesliga, and Darmstadt is not a regular side in the Bundesliga, so therefore it's going to be very special for us. We've just been in training for just over a week now, so same again. I wouldn't want to draw too many conclusions from pre-season so far, but we're a side that's not too much about individual quality, but more about the spirit and more about seeing the bigger picture and just trying to do everything, whatever it takes, bury your ego and just work for the group. And I mean, we didn't lose too many players and we didn't sign too many new players so far, but those that we have seem to be good fits so far. And I just hope with everyone we'll have available at the start of the season, we'll create not the same, but an even better bond than we did last season, and that was already exceptional. We can't rely on individual quality in that league because the league's too good for that, but we need to fight with our weapons, with what makes us strong. And I'm very positive that by the time the league kicks off, we'll be in a very good place.
Is there any plans in the coming weeks that you have for maybe trips away with the squad for training camps or any big friendlies?
We've got the training camp is planned for in about 1.5 weeks' time, but we're staying fairly local, just an hour away from here. Other than that, yeah, there's going to be one highlight just a week before our first competitive match, which will be a cup game. We'll be playing Liverpool away. Unfortunately, not at Anfield, but at Preston, at Deepdale. And that's definitely, other than Norwich, the highlight of the pre-season.
Lastly then, if there is any message that you could give to Norwich City fans, what would you say to them now?
I think I'd go with something fairly similar to what I said in December when I've been around. I will be eternally grateful for everything I've been given at Norwich. No matter how I played, no matter what time of my 5 years it was there, I always felt welcome. I always felt that I had support from the stands. I always felt that Norfolk love. And as I mentioned it on that Reading game at halftime. and I mean it from my heart that Norwich will always be home for me, and that I wanted to say thank you for everything and a thank you to everyone.